Hello and welcome to the Favourite Football Extra Time podcast. I'm James Killick and with me today is Benjamin Howard. Ben, how are you?
Mahaba. That is hello in Turkish for any of our Turkish fans that are listening to Extra Time. And what a wonderful Friday it is.
Great. Hello to you guys out there. Right, okay, so this week, Ben, we've had fans back in this stadium. Have you got to see any games with them back? It's been good, isn't it?
Well, not Arsenal really, because you can't really tell a difference with fans or fans.
Leave the Emirates library alone,
as well.
Please. No, don't do that. Although, yeah, I have been to the Emirates. And
It is the library.
Well, thanks for that positive start. Okay, let's jump then straight into the Champions League groups then, shall we? Obviously, we went through them last week and the past few weeks in extra time, so we're just going to give you a quick update. I'm sure you're aware, but let's go through quickly. Group A, obviously, we know Bayern Munich are through. We've got Atletico Madrid and Salzburg still potentially could go through in the last game of that group. Ben, are you excited for that?
You would have thought Atletico Madrid would have qualified by now, seeing how good their team is. But for obviously Salzburg and Lokomotiv Moscow to still have a chance of getting through, it kind of says how kind of bad they've been in Europe. Yeah. Atletico Madrid, they've drawn 3 times, so you think they should at least be beating Salzburg and Lokomotiv Moscow to easily qualify. But Salzburg, they put up a fight against Bayern Munich, and they're not a bad team at all, Salzburg, at all.
No, they're not, have they? Brought a good couple of players through as well, that team. Okay, let's move straight on to Group B. Obviously, we've got Gladbach on 8 points. I mean, this is a group, isn't it? And then Shakhtar in second with 7. Real Madrid in third place with 7 points. And Inter Milan fourth, obviously, with 5 points. But, I mean, this group's mad, isn't it? We could all still go through.
I mean, Inter Milan are back from the dead, didn't they? I mean, everyone was writing them off last game, saying, there's no chance they're going to get through. And then Shakhtar do the double over Real Madrid in the season, watching Gladbach losing to Inter Milan, and it's a bit like all over the place again. It's a bit like, who is actually going to get through? You would place your bets on watching Gladbach, but then Inter Milan and Real Madrid can easily just come back into it. So you don't really know which way it's going to go.
No, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? All on the last game as well. And that's what we hope for, because sometimes the group games, you just sort of, they sort of pass you by a bit. And obviously we watch them and we cover them and stuff, but until you get like to this end of it, when the implications are really here now, when it comes to that last game, they do get very exciting. So cannot wait for that, honestly. Group C, obviously we've covered before. And of course we know who's going through there. We've got Manchester City and Porto going through. Marseille, though, Ben, have won a game. Now,
after 13 of the successive defeats, they finally won. So, I mean, it's probably the best thing they could have done, really. Who wants to lose 13 games in a row in the Champions League?
I mean, if they win the last game, they could still get the old Europa, couldn't they?
Oh, God, imagine if they won the Europa League.
Well, that would be a turnaround. You'd have to eat your words. It would be like... who was it you were tagging off? Bamford. There we go. It'll be Bamford Mark II, wouldn't it? Group D. Let's move on to that.
I've never tagged off Bamford.
Group D, again, we've got a nice little battle in the middle here. We've got Liverpool obviously already through. Then we've got Atalanta on 8 and Ajax on 7. Midtjylland, as we know, managed to get a draw, so they have got a point, but it won't be enough. So Atalanta and Ajax in the last game of Group D. That's exciting.
Atalanta should be kicking themselves because they should have easily beaten Midtjylland. I mean, they've been the spanking boys of that group, but Atalanta should have really won that game. For them to draw is a massive disappointment, and you'd think Ajax would fancy their chances in a game against them.
I think it's going to be close. I don't know, because obviously Atalanta, they don't have the best squad in the world, do they? Nor do Ajax, really. They've both obviously done very well in European competitions. Recently, the last couple of years, obviously, we've seen Atalanta go far in the competition, and we've seen, obviously, Ajax a couple of years ago get all the way to the semi-final, haven't we? But I mean, there are much bigger teams in the competition, aren't there?
Well, they are much bigger teams, yeah, but do they play as well as Atalanta and Ajax? As that's what they've been based on, finding this good talent and then put it into practice. As you've seen with Atalanta, they've got Muriel Zapata there. They've got Guzens who has scored against Liverpool, so they've got some good creative players at Atalanta. And so do they have Ajax with Kudos there, Gravenberch, who's come through their academy. So they seem to find the right players and find a style that works for them to help progress as a team.
Yeah, Muriel was a FIFA legend, wasn't he? A career mode legend a couple of years ago. I think all you
He still is.
FIFA fans out there will remember that if you picked him up young enough, he'd end up being a 90-something. He was in pretty much all of my teams. Okay, then let's move on from that to Group E, where obviously, once again, a deal is done. We have Chelsea going through, obviously on 13 points. Sevilla going through, no Europa League win for them. And then, of course, we've got in third Krasnodar and last Rennes. So, very disappointing from Rennes, but...
Yeah, that's very bad, especially considering Rennes had a good season in the French league. You thought they would have maybe offered a bit more, but yeah, you could always kind of tell that Chelsea and Sevilla would be the ones to go top. So Sevilla might be quite disappointed not to get another Europa League title.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You maybe expect Rennes to finish third, though, wouldn't you? I guess. I mean, I don't want to put down on Krasnodar, but obviously Rennes had a good campaign last season. So yeah, as you say, you would expect a little bit more. Okay, let's move on then to Group F. We have Borussia Dortmund topping that with 10 points, Lazio second with 9, then we got Bruges with 7, and Zenit St. Petersburg, who definitely won't be going through on 1. So Ben, we got another little battle there, haven't we? Because at the moment, we could still have potentially Dortmund, Lazio or Bruges going through.
I can't see Dortmund messing this up, although Haaland is out until January, so that's going to be a massive blow for them because everything he shoots goes in, so that'll be a huge loss for them considering he's out for so long. But you'd think Dortmund would get the job done along with Lazio. I mean, Club Brugge, you would say they fancy their chances, possibly, but yeah, I think Dortmund and Lazio would be too strong in their last games and go through.
Okay, that's fair enough. And just sort of related but unrelated, did you see Haaland's Instagram post about coming back in January, his update?
Oh yeah, his legs, he's like a machine, isn't he?
Ridiculous.
He wasn't born from someone, he was made in a lab.
Oh mate, that is like Shaqiri-esque, isn't he? But obviously he's huge, so imagine him.
How can you have calves like that at the age of 20 years old?
Let me ask you a question. Would you play red arse with Haaland?
I think I'd go, if he'd done that to me, I think I'd end up flying over across the field if he kicked the ball at me.
I'd just say, can you punch me in the face instead?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be a sad way to go.
Yeah. All right, let's move on then from Group F, and obviously that important information we covered. Let's go on to Group G. Barcelona, obviously a team who came into this season, a lot going on and change of manager. Still, I mean, they're top of that table. Obviously, they're going through with 100% win rate, and Juventus just behind them with 12 points. Of course, that group's done because in third is Kiev on 1, and obviously last is Venagorossi. I can never pronounce that. Apologies, listeners, and Ben on 1 point as well. So that group is done and dusted. And Ben, I think we said in the very first extra time where we started to cover this year's European competitions, I think we said, didn't we? If Barcelona and Juventus don't go through, it would be mad. But I think we knew it was going to happen, didn't we, despite what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, if you're only getting 1 point in the Champions League, then you kind of don't deserve to be going top.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, I guess. Right, should we move on then to the final group? But I think, Ben, we've got a couple of talking points in here, haven't we? So in Group H, we have Manchester United topping the group with 9 points. We have PSG on 9 points as well, and Leipzig on 9 points as well. Istanbul, Başakşehir on 3 points. I mean, the story of this group, Ben, what's been happening?
Everyone's beating everyone practically, apart from Istanbul. So it's basically a massive three-way contest between Leipzig, United and PSG. They all seem to be beating each other. So, I mean, it's down to United to basically beat Leipzig, because I can't see Istanbul beating PSG. So United need a good win against Leipzig, and obviously everyone believes that United are the underdogs, but why are United the underdogs with the amount of money they've spent on their team? And I mean, they were unlucky against PSG in certain points.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
More.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask if you wanted to recap on that game in particular. I know we haven't covered any others, but this one was particularly interesting, wasn't it? Because it was a game really where you came out and you think, "Oh, I can't believe they got nothing from that."
Yeah, they didn't play too bad. They should have finished their chances. And Mbappe's now eight games without a goal in the Champions League now, which is even more of a shock. But I think United's in-game management let them down. To not take off Fred at half time was criminal in itself. And if you've got Bruno Fernandes in the second half shouting to Gunnar Solskjaer, make a substitution, then you know your days as a manager are pretty much gone if you've got players telling you that. Even players in Sunday League wouldn't tell you to do that.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, isn't there? The Solskjaer talk has come back again, and I think with him it's always going to be there because he hasn't got the resume when things start going wrong for people to say, well, yeah, but, this guy's done this and that. For example, if we talk about Pep Guardiola and we talk about maybe the dip this season, I mean, there has been whispers, hasn't there? Should he be there? Should he stay on? But they're not as strong, obviously, as the Solskjaer ones because, obviously, he hasn't got the history behind him. But, yeah, frustrating night for Manchester United. Very frustrating night. And, obviously, our co-host, James Brett, was very frustrated. And there are missed chances in this game, weren't there, as well? They still could have won.
Well, especially Martial as well. You see Giroud getting 4 goals, and you see Martial, who has been not very good this season. You see why Giroud gets picked ahead of Martial for the French team because of how vital Giroud is and his goals. He seems to have a knack of his hold-up play and getting in the right position all the time. And you just have to see his goal-scoring record to see that compared to Martial as well. So if Giroud was playing for United, you think he would have buried it.
That's the thing with Martial. I guess it's kind of been the question over him since he's joined. You do see flashes from him, don't you, where he looks incredible. One of the top players maybe in the world. I'm not talking about Ronaldo, Messi level, do you know what I mean? That next tier. He can be there. And then you see him other games and you really can't sort of recognise him, can you? His form can be so hot and cold. I think that's my one criticism of him, of Martial. I guess he's still young though, isn't he? I mean, he's not,
No, he's not. He's 24, 25, isn't he?
Yeah. But he's old enough.
I mean, it's a bit like popcorn in a cinema, isn't it? It's fantastic at first and you like it, and then 1 minute you're off of it.
Then you throw it on the floor. No, you don't. Yeah. But he's 24, Martial. He'll be 25 tomorrow. Whoa, would you look at that? Happy birthday tomorrow, Martial. I'm sure you're listening.
He's getting a hat-trick tomorrorow. £10 says he's getting a hat-trick.
Yeah, well, that's why he's distracted, isn't he? He's trying to arrange his party and ting. Okay, so that group obviously comes down, to the last game. And as you say, it's very unlikely, isn't it, that PSG are going to slip up. That would take something a bit special. And that last game, I can't wait to tune into that one. Manchester United, RB Leipzig.
Well, is it based on head-to-head as well, or is it based on goal difference?
Oh, I'm not sure after that. But if we look at the goal difference at the moment, I mean, United's is far superior, though, isn't it? Their goal difference is 6 and Leipzig is -2. So
even if it was head-to-head as well, United would obviously be winning against them, but because they scored 5 goals against them, didn't they? So you imagine Leipzig would desperately need a win against them.
They need a win, yeah, because a draw won't be enough. And a draw won't be enough, full stop. So RB Leipzig needs to come out to win. And obviously we know they can because last season they did so well in that competition. So they've got it in their locker. So we'll have to see.
That's all off to get the winner. You're hearing it first.
Yeah, let's hope so. Crystal Palace a legend, or could have been if he wasn't sold. All right, Ben, any other comments on the Champions League before we move on to the Europa League?
Oh, I mean, I've still got a funny feeling Dynamo Kiev will pull it out the bag somewhere.
Yeah, you reckon they can get 12 points from their last game? Let's touch quickly on Giroud, Ben, because you mentioned him there and we were going to come to him. I mean, that's serious, isn't it? 4 goals. Was he the joint top oldest to ever score that many goals in a single Champions League game?
Probably, yeah. I mean, how old is he now anyways, Giroud?
34.
I mean, it just keeps proving that age is but a number, because you still see players at that age still delivering high numbers. I think many years ago, if anyone thought you were over 30, you were done basically as a footballer. But then you see people like Ronaldo, Messi, Ibrahimovic and now Giroud proving that even if you're in your 30s, you can still do it if you've got it.
Yeah, if you look at Giroud though, Ronaldo, let's forget Ronaldo obviously because he's a freak. I mean, don't at me, he is a freak. But, he's never had a game based on pace, hasn't he? Obviously at Arsenal at times. I mean, at times his pace was actually comical. There were a couple of videos that went viral where he's trying to chase someone down and it's just like jog. But the players who don't have that speed and don't rely on the speed can have a longer career, can't they? And that's why you see some players whose game is so much about speed. I mean, I'm thinking straight away Owen, who obviously had his injuries, etc., and slowed down. Even Fernando Torres, he wasn't quite as quick, was he? And that sort of changed him a bit. But someone like Giroud, nothing's changed for him, really, is it? Because he's got that knack and always has had that knack of being in exactly the right position at the right times, isn't he? And his heading, I don't think there are many players that I've seen that can head the ball as well as him that consistently. What do you think? It's incredible.
Bar Ronaldo, but we're not including him.
Of course. Yeah. Human.
I think I think Giroud kind of based his game on his hold-up play and linking others into that play. And you see with Chelsea, I think last year, didn't you, where most of the good things which were happening were coming through Giroud and Pulisic linking up with him as well. So it's not just about his heading and goal scoring, it's positional awareness. It's also about bringing others into the game as well and helping them score or get an assist as well. So maybe he is underrated in terms of that, where he doesn't get enough recognition for that.
Maybe it's because, like you say, he does a lot for the team, doesn't he? And he's not someone who's blasting 40 goals a season. It's just not what he is. But I remember when Hazard was at Chelsea, when Giroud was brought back into the fold, and Hazard says, he's one of my favourite strikers to play with for that reason. The fact that, he does hold the ball so well. And, of course, he is lethal in that box. And, we saw that.
Yeah, and he's a World Cup winner as well. He was vital in the World Cup.
Yeah, he didn't score, but he did a lot, didn't he? And he's going to be chosen again.
And he's got 44 goals for the France national team as well. So that's not even a bad return at all. I think he's possibly catching up to Henry, I believe, for top goal scorers.
Yeah, he's a few goals behind. So if he can get a couple more years.
Yeah, he's 7 goals behind Henry to become the top goal scorer ever for France.
He's 34 though. Do you reckon he can do it?
I mean, if he's got a Euros in him, he'll probably get called up to the Euros because he's still getting called up to France now, isn't he? So
get a couple of sort of friendlies against.
Get San Marino in and you're sorted.
Put him on everything: free kicks, pens, the lot.
Corners.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a bit of a Marmite player, isn't he? People love him and people hate him. At Arsenal, he was kind of the same. He did have flashes of brilliance. He could also be wasteful.
Yeah, especially his scorpion kick against Palace. I'll always live that.
Oh yeah, that was incredible, wasn't it? He does have that in his locker. Okay, Ben, let's move then on to the Europa League. Obviously, we've got a few more groups here. We're not going to go into all of the detail on this. So if we look at Group A, obviously we've got Roma already through, Young Boys, and CFR Cluj on 5 points. Could still potentially go through, depending on the last game. If we go on to Group B, we've got Arsenal, who are the only team in this competition to play 5 and win 5. Any nice comments about Arsenal, Ben?
You've played a group full of teams that aren't as good as you, and you've got very lucky in that, because you've got Dundalk from the Irish League, who's in there. Then you've got Rapid Vienna and Molde, who are many leagues below Arsenal as well. So it's just Arsenal doing a job, and they've done the job effectively, haven't they?
All right, I'm going to edit all of that out because none of that was positive enough. Make notes and edit that. Moving on to Group C, obviously, Slavia Prague. We've got the top 2 teams here going through. So Slavia Prague played 5, 12 points. Bayer Leverkusen played 5, 12 points. And then under that, obviously, we've got Nice, who have recently sacked their manager, haven't they? Patrick Viera, Ben, and that's been coming for a while, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that wasn't very nice of them, though, was it?
Oh, here we are. This is why they tune in. This is why they tune in.
I mean, he was kind of he was under pressure for a little while, Viera, because of his tactics and play and being a bit defensive and that. And with a 5-game losing run as well, I think the fans just kind of had enough. I mean, he was very highly rated in his early managerial career, wasn't he, Viera? He was linked with Arsenal and Man City jobs, wasn't he, when he was at New York? So
yeah.
Nice, it's not really worked out for him.
No, I just think that league's difficult to go to, though, isn't it? That, I mean, saying that, should you be doing better in the Europa League potentially against Slavia Prague, maybe? Although, they're no joke with Leverkusen there as well. But yeah, I always think it's difficult going to the French league because it's so. I mean, the story's already written when you go there, isn't it? What can you do really? But was it under Patrick Vieira at Nice with Saint Maximin? Was it him who let him go to Newcastle? Was that right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe that would be the one little thing you could look at and go, well, it's, maybe he was, because I mean, he's an incredible player, isn't he, Saint Maximin? A little bit unpredictable, but a real bright spark. So maybe that was a mistake, but who knows? Who knows? Obviously, he's gone now. If we move on to Group D, we've got Rangers topping the group there on 11 points already going through, with Benfica as well, also on 11 points. And moving on to Group E, we've got Granada on 10 points, PSV on 9 points. Them 2 teams are already through as well. If we move on to Group F, Ben, we've got a bit of excitement here. We've got Napoli, who are on 10 points, Real Sociedad on 8 points, AZ Alkmaar on 8 points, and obviously them 3 teams could all still go through, couldn't they?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised in Napoli because I thought they would have already qualified. They were one of my favourites to win it, so... But, yeah. They drew... Well, Sociedad drew Rijeka last night, which is quite disappointing, a 2-2 draw. So maybe that should have been a game they should be winning and already qualified for. But yeah, I mean, it's all going to come down to the last game. AZ Alkmaar got two decent players in Stens and Boadu as well. So they're not no slouch either because they can score out of nothing as well. But you would predict Napoli would still come top of that group.
Yeah, you think so, wouldn't you? And you'd expect them to do quite well in the competition. Moving on then to Group G, we've got Leicester topping the group with 10 points, 5 games. Sporting Braga also with 10 points, and they are the 2 teams going through. Moving then on to Group H, we've got the same sort of situation again with Lille and AC Milan going through on 11 and 10 points. And last in that group, and I mention this because we're going to come on to them after we finish this, is Celtic, who have played 5 with only 1 point, which is obviously not a great return. In Group I, we have Villarreal already through. Then we've got Maccabi Tel Aviv on 8 points and Sivasspor on 6. So, I mean, there could be some movement there again, couldn't there? We'll have to see in that last game. Yeah. And then on to Group J, we've got Antwerp, who are through already with 12 points, and Tottenham Hotspur second with 10 points. You'd expect them to be top of the group, wouldn't you, there, Spurs? But they are topping the Premier League.
Yeah, they didn't help them join last night and them conceding like last-minute goals. So that was very helpful on Tottenham's part.
No, not good finish, was it? And then we've got Dinamo Zagreb. This is Group K on 11 points. Then we've got RZ Pillar however you pronounce that, on 7 points, and then Feyenoord on 5. So once again, there could still be some movement. So there's more opportunity in the Europa League than the Champions League at the moment. And the last group...
There's so many bloody teams.
Well, yeah, that's it. We are on to the last group, everybody. We're not going to go all the way to Z yet. Hoffenheim are through with 13 points. Red Star on 10. And they are the 2 teams going through. So, Ben, your favourites for the Europa League are Napoli. Although we haven't had the Champions League teams drop in yet, have we? I mean, that changes everything, doesn't it?
No. Well, I mean, judging by the Champions League teams that are going in, you would still think Napoli would still be the favourites.
Even if Real Madrid drop in, Manchester United?
If Real Madrid drop in, then yeah, they're definitely 100% winning it. They'll blow the Europa League out of the water, I think. But if United win it, if United went into it, I wouldn't see them winning it.
Yeah, well, imagine if Real Madrid did drop in and didn't do so well. I mean, that would be...
Imagine Madrid and PSG. Oh, that'd be funny.
Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
To keep up to date with the show, follow and contact us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Favourite Football Pod. Email us at hello@favouritefootball.com. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/favouritefootball. Also, if you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review. Name and shame us.
Okay, we're next going to move on to some other news then. So the team we're going to give a quick look to this week is actually Celtic, because as we discussed there, they're not doing so well in their group with 5 games and 1 point. In the domestic league, the Scottish Premiership, they are second. They have 2 games in hand over the top team, Rangers. If they won both of them games, they'd still be 5 points behind. We've got obviously Neil Lennon under pressure. We've got the fans a bit unhappy. Ben, how do you assess that situation from a distance?
I mean, would you say it's really, really a turmoil? Like you said, 2 games they've had. If they win them, they're 5 points behind Rangers. Yeah, they've not had a good Europa League, but sometimes you'd associate yourself getting the odd result or not doing too bad in European competitions. But obviously that has failed this year around. Even after the Ross County game, I believe, when they played, you had people outside the stadium not very happy with obviously what's going on at Celtic, but then it's kind of been a bit like you've had the life, 9 years winning 9 league titles straight in a row, but then you get Rangers coming along and seeing how well they've done under Steven Gerrard, 23 undefeated, 67 goals scored. They're through to the next part of the Europa League, top of the league. I mean, guess maybe that's a bit envious. Maybe Celtic fans are now jealous of Rangers fans now.
It's an odd one because, yeah, like I guess it's different. If you are emotionally invested in Celtic, obviously we're not, because we're fans of, completely different teams in a different league. But I guess the fans are unhappy, I think, with the squad selections. I mean, I've seen phrases like lucky dip selections from some of the fans, and also the investments they're making. They don't think they're sort of signing the right players or buying the right players, etc., to stay on top. And maybe they've just sort of slipped a little bit and in that demand. And I guess they've lost a couple of players, haven't they, over the last couple of seasons, to other teams that they haven't been able to keep hold of. Of course, they've lost Brendan Rodgers as well. Not too long ago. But it's another one because Neil Lennon, I mean, some of the abuse he's getting, he's a Celtic legend. Let's not forget he won there, didn't he? He's won enough titles with Celtic as a manager as well. And, you know, when I see they're potentially 5 points behind if they win them 2 games, it doesn't look so bad. I mean, I'd take Arsenal being there, I'll tell you that. I mean, I'd take us being second.
The Scottish League is a long one as well. It's only 15 games, and what they play, how many games?
30
odd.
8, is it 30? 36, something like that. A lot.
But it's still early days. I wouldn't class it as a turmoil. I think you have the right to be upset and angry with how your team's playing and the decisions and that. But I don't think you should class it as a turmoil, considering if you win 2 games in hand, you're still 5 points behind Rangers. Maybe they were expecting a better European turnout. Maybe that's what the frustration's about because of the group. But I mean, Lille are a good team, and so are AC Milan. AC Milan are top of their group, and Lille have good players as well. I mean, was that maybe Celtic overhyping themselves in European competition?
Yeah, maybe just needs a little bit of perspective. So it's 38 games in this Premiership because obviously they play each team 3 times, don't they? And then they have sort of the break in the system and then they play the other teams again. So it's a different format, obviously, to the Premier League completely. As they've only got 12 teams, it'll be a very short season if they only play each other twice. But it's an odd one. And maybe it is the European nights, you know, because when you are... I mean, obviously it's a bit different now because they're not actually top of the league, but I guess if you're used to that success, aren't you, that you want something else and you want a cup run, you want, you know, something else. I mean, obviously they're still proud, obviously, the victory against Barcelona and stuff like that, aren't they? It's, you want something else to happen, don't you? I guess. I mean, maybe we should get a Celtic fan on and have a chat. That'd be good. I'd like to know
what
more.
do you want? A Champions League or Europa League or the Scottish title?
You're only going to let them have one. I think they choose the Champions League. But
yeah, I mean, probably, yeah. You would never hear the end of it.
Well, no, you wouldn't if Arsenal won it either, to be honest with you. But obviously Rangers, I mean, they're doing well, aren't they, under Gerrard, Ben? We spoke earlier and you said you're impressed with how they're doing, and they've got quite a long unbeaten run now, haven't they?
I mean, yeah, it's the signings they've made as well. He's got them playing well, 23 unbeaten as well. So it's going really well for him. And, I mean, a lot of people... last year would have thought, yeah, he's done quite a good job, Gerrard, at Rangers. And even this year, you're seeing how much of a good job he's done. And if he keeps, I would say, if he leads Rangers to a league title this year, I don't think he'll be at Rangers next year. I think a lot of teams will be after him. A couple of Premier League sides will be after him. A couple of top Championship ones will be after him. I would like him at Palace personally because of the way he plays football and that as well. So, and because he's quite an honest guy as well. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, he's a young manager, isn't he? Which is obviously opposite to Hodgson. And he's got contacts, isn't he, where he can bring players in. You always think if there's a good youngster coming through or whatever, that he could bring them in. And you know, you've got some good youngsters at Palace, haven't you, who could maybe thrive under him. It would. I wonder if he would come.
Yeah, we've been graded to A. We've been graded to A as well for our academy as well. So one of the best. So, I mean, money talks. Maybe he might wait for the Liverpool. When Jurgen Klopp does finally decide to end it at Liverpool, maybe he might wait for that, but it might even help him further. If he gets a Premier League club doing well, then that would help his case further for a top job.
I was thinking though, do you think it could be a bad thing coming to another Premier League club? Only because if you win that title in Scotland with Rangers, you have done something that's obviously not been done for such a long time, and it ruins the 10 in a row. It's a massive thing. Like, you are massive there now, and you get a lot of kudos. If you made a move to another Premier League club, and there are not, you know, there's only a few clubs with a real chance of really even challenging for the league or even challenging for top 4, do you think if he went to like a mid-table Premier League club and it just sort of went averagely, actually that would bring his chances of going to Liverpool down a bit? Does that make sense? Because almost his legacy, instead of being a league winner, you know, when he shouldn't have won it, he'd suddenly be sort of a run-of-the-mill, middle of the league manager. Does that make sense?
I guess the point of a manager, though, is to test yourself in the best leagues, and not to be any offence to the Scottish Premiership, but the Premier League is way and above the Scottish Premiership. So you would imagine he would want to try his luck in one of the best leagues in the world and see if he could do a top job. It means like, you could keep having years and years of success in this league, but is it the same class as the Premier League? No. So I mean, if you do wait years and years for the Liverpool job, and then when you go in, you'd be like, oh, he's only won the Scottish Premier League. And then you might be put in a bracket of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What's he ever won? He won, the Molde League in Norway.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd really want to test yourself in the Premiership, even if that's at a mid-table club where you do a good job at a mid-table club where you're maybe pushing for Europe or get a couple of trophies in like an FA Cup or League Cup. Then you would say that's maybe a bit more exciting as a manager.
Yeah, it could give you something else. And I'm in that for not the obviously to be a manager in the Premier League of any club is mad. Like, it's a mad achievement. I mean, I guess we all dream of that, and it's not going to happen to 99.999% of us. It would be incredible, but I just meant more so, I guess, not being able to compete suddenly. Would you lose something? But you never know. You could see him. I guess the team, if I thought about sort of a young manager who wanted to make an impact and stuff, it would sort of be Southampton, but obviously they're happy with their manager, aren't they? Hasenhüttl. But that sort of environment, I guess you can try and push things a bit. It'd be good, but we'll have to see. I mean, it does actually make the Scottish League more interesting for me personally as an English fan, because usually when you see Celtic so far ahead, I just stop following it. I'm not bothered. But when I see
you want
this,
a bit of competition in leagues, don't you, to keep it alive?
Yeah. So now I end up, watching or making sure I see at least highlights or catching up the scores or something. So it might actually be a good thing for the league. Clearly not for Celtic fans, understandable, because you love your club. So, okay. Let's move on from that then to other news in the week, with a £250 million rescue package being sent down to the Championship and also League 1 and 2. This is good, Ben, isn't it?
Yes, but I don't get why 200 million is going to the Championship, but then League 1 and 2 have to have kind of less of a pot, if you know what I mean. I mean, why couldn't they have a bit more money to help them out if the Championship's getting so much money as well?
Well, it's running costs of the clubs, isn't it? And some of the wages in the Championship are high, aren't they? I mean, you see some Championship.
But you look at League 1 as well, though. The salary in League 1. You look at the teams like Sunderland. You look at their wage bill as well.
Well, they've got the cap. Is the cap coming in? Is it next? When is that happening? The cap? Because we spoke about that on the an extra time previously, didn't we? About the salary cap coming in for League 1 and 2. And
maybe that's what the 50 million's for the salary cap.
Yeah. So, obviously this is a loan. So loans are capped at 8.33 million per club and must be repaid by June 2024. So, yeah, with the way the world is, I mean, this is a couple of years in the future, or 4 years in the future, isn't it? You should hope that everyone will be alright by then, but I don't know. When I see that has to be given back, I sort of think, bit of pressure there, isn't it? Trying to raise 8 million.
Give our money back now.
Yeah, hopefully everything's cool by then, we're all leveled out. But yeah, it's a good thing, because the last thing we want is to see more clubs go. Obviously, we've seen, big clubs, haven't we? Big historic clubs just go and turn into Phoenix clubs, example. So, if this can keep people in jobs and if this can keep the clubs going, then fantastic. And I just hope next season then that we're back to the olden days.
Yeah, I hope I'm back in the stands shouting abuse at Palace.
The good times. Chucking your Bovril. Let's move on from that then, obviously. Let's move on to something a bit different here. This is about VAR, Ben, your favourite subject. Just picking up on the fact that the BBC actually did a poll and the results came in just a few hours ago, which is why we're covering it. And this was basically saying, what do you think of VAR? And just to give you an idea of the poll results, 36% of supporters aged 18 to 34 believe VAR has made football better, compared with 29% of fans that are over 55%. I can't believe that 36% of supporters between 18 and 34 think it's made it better.
Oh, God.
36?
No these chance. People? So that's definitely a lie. That is 100% a lie.
That's mad, isn't it?
How do you think VAR has made things better? It's me personally, I think it's made things a lot worse.
Yeah, there was a game the other day. I watched it live, then I watched the highlights. I can't think who it was now. And do you know what? The game stopped so many times. I actually just had it. Like, I was so frustrated. And Because the thing is, it almost feels like, do you ever stay up to watch the Super Bowl? Or have you ever stayed up? And
I have, yes.
Yeah, I never watch anything apart from that. And you sort of love it, like you're into it, and it's the stop-start, and you just think, oh,
yes, that's American football, though, isn't it? It's very advert, stop-start all the time. We don't want football to be like that.
Christ, we're getting there, aren't we? I mean, the game I was watching the other day, it might have been a Leeds game, actually.
I don't think the issue is, though, VAR, though. I think the issue is how poor refereeing is now. I think VAR is highlighting how poor referees are now. Like, it's okay to use VAR system because that VAR system is there for clear and obvious errors, but the referees are making the clear and obvious errors. That it's not helping them now.
Do you not think it's more the rules though, in the sense that, you know, say for example the offsides and stuff? I mean, they can't. The referees. I mean, they're not writing the rules, are they, about an arm being offside and Patrick Bamford pointing offside is an offside and, you know, etc. It's not necessarily them, is it? But we are seeing other decisions, maybe. I don't know. To be honest, I've had it. I've had enough. Like, I've always come on here, like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but But now I'm just, I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The only technology that has kind of helped is goal line technology. That is it.
That was good.
That one time messed up last year. That helped improve the game.
Yeah, that did, because it's a 2 second thing. Well, not even a 2 second thing. It flashes straight up on the watch. Everyone looks at the ref. He says yes or no. Yeah. Everybody carries on, and the drama's over. But yeah, I'm sick to death of VAR. Honestly,
I think they just need to scrap it and rely on human error. That's what it should be, because then referees will improve with their job, not having to rely on a system all the time and rules always changing in line with technology. I just think referees need to just become better at their job.
I don't think I mean, yes, referees had made mistakes, but clearly when you're on the pitch at eye level, they didn't have several replays and stuff. You look at the percentage of correct decisions. Okay, it has gone up since VAR, of course, because obviously you can watch it again and again, but it wasn't that shocking, you know. There maybe would be an odd bad decision here and there, but honestly, I'd rather go back to that. I'd rather that than this. 100%, 100%.
Bring back Kalina.
Bring back, well, he's in charge of it all, isn't he? So if he wants to come over here and sort it out properly, that would be great.
Bring him back.
So 59% of fans over 55 and over said VAR is making football worse. Ben, maybe we are more of a mature 55 plus mindset here. I mean, this is an interesting one. Arsenal fans, 44%, are more likely to believe that VAR has made football better. I'm not in that 44%. Piss off. And younger fans are split on whether VAR is being applied consistently, 35%, or inconsistently, 33% by referees. So, yeah.
So basically, someone's on this on an Excel spreadsheet and made up some figures and stats and just put it there.
Well, I mean, of course, this is just a poll, and, you know, you don't know who's, you know, it's not like everybody in the world's had their vote, but, yeah. Okay, moving on, obviously from the VAR talk then, other quick news to fly through. Ben, Neymar made comments about wanting Messi at PSG. Could you see that happening next year?
No. No chance.
I wouldn't want to see Messi at PSG.
I couldn't see him going there just because of the standard of football there. I mean, I think he would want to challenge himself. I mean, he would either stay at Barcelona if everything gets sorted, or I think he would want to go to somewhere where he would enjoy his football. And you've seen Neymar loads of times. The amount of times he's wanted to leave PSG since he signed. And Mbappe is obviously looking to leave as well, isn't he? So why would Messi want to go there if players have previously stated that they want to go or look ahead at other options? I think he would maybe want to go somewhere they will enjoy his football again, like maybe that Man City with Pep Guardiola, because that's where that's where it all started for him.
Well, he signed a 2-year extension, didn't he, Pep? So I guess he could get a year out of Messi. But whether that would happen, I don't know. I do have a feeling maybe some sort of deal would be sorted out. And especially if Barcelona do well in the Champions League, maybe Messi would think, well, maybe if I've got 1 or 2 more years, or however long he wants to play for, you know, is it worth now going to somewhere else? But, I mean, if he went to City, obviously you got a chance of winning the Champions League. But then again, I guess Barcelona played, you know, 5 games, and with Juventus in the same group, and they've ended up with maximum points. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for listening to the Extra Time podcast. Remember to check out our socials. Send in your language warnings. We're actually doing pretty well at the moment, not swearing. But do keep sending them in. We've saved the ones we've got, but we'd like more. Guys, thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you next time on the usual weekend episode. See you later.
Bye bye.